Imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of a vast ocean. You can see the waves rolling in, feel the wind on your skin, hear the rhythmic pull of the tide. Now, imagine trying to control the ocean, commanding the waves to stop, telling the tide when to rise and fall. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? Yet this is exactly what most people try to do with their lives. They cling to control, resist change, and struggle against the natural flow of life, believing that if they don't have all the answers, something will go wrong. But what if I told you that the real power lies not in control, but in surrender? That trusting in a higher plan, one greater than anything you could design, has the potential to transform your life in ways beyond your imagination. Most people live in fear of the unknown, constantly trying to predict, plan, and force things to happen on their terms. But what if the key to everything you've been searching for, peace, fulfillment, success, was not in pushing harder, but in letting go? Today, I want to share with you why trusting God's plan will change your life forever, and how surrendering to divine wisdom opens the door to miracles. Trusting God's plan is about aligning with a greater intelligence that orchestrates life beyond what our limited minds can comprehend. And when we surrender, we allow divine energy to work through us. This is not about passively waiting for things to happen, but rather about understanding that there is an infinite field of intelligence guiding all aspects of life. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, and every experience you encounter is part of a greater design. This is what many people refer to as divine orchestration, the perfect unfolding of life when we stop resisting and start trusting. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of the ocean. The waves move rhythmically, the tide flows in and out with precision, and the entire ecosystem functions in perfect harmony. You don't have to tell the ocean when to rise or fall. You don't have to command the sun to rise or set. There is an order, a force, and intelligence at play that is far greater than what we can perceive with our limited senses. This intelligence is the same force that governs our lives, but the problem is we have been conditioned to believe that we must control everything. We are taught that success comes from planning every detail, from predicting every outcome, and from ensuring that things happen exactly as we expect. But if we observe nature, we realize that nothing in creation forces its way forward. The trees don't struggle to grow. The rivers don't force their course. Everything flows with the natural order of the universe. And when we align ourselves with this greater intelligence, we begin to experience a life of ease, grace, and divine timing. The human mind, however, is wired for control. It craves certainty. It fears the unknown. This is because, from a survival standpoint, the brain wants to predict what's ahead to ensure safety. This is a useful trait when navigating physical danger, but it becomes a limitation when applied to the spiritual dimension of life. Many people spend their entire lives in a state of resistance, constantly trying to manipulate and force things to happen according to their own timeline. But the more we try to control, the more we create resistance. Resistance is the very thing that keeps us stuck in cycles of stress, anxiety, and frustration. It's like trying to swim against the current of a river. The more effort you put in, the more exhausted you become. The key is to learn to flow with life, to surrender to the current, and to trust that it is leading you exactly where you are meant to go. Surrender does not mean giving up. It does not mean that you stop taking action or that you wait idly for things to change. True surrender is about aligning your energy with the greater intelligence that is already working behind the scenes. It is about understanding that your role is to be in harmony with the divine plan rather than trying to force your own agenda. When you surrender, you tap into the quantum field, the realm of infinite possibilities where miracles happen. The quantum field is the space where all potential realities exist, and the moment you align with faith, you become a receiver of divine guidance. Think about the moments in your life when things just fell into place effortlessly. Maybe it was an unexpected opportunity, a chance encounter, or a blessing that arrived out of nowhere. These moments are not coincidences. They are evidence of divine intelligence at work. When you trust, when you let go of the need to control, you allow this intelligence to guide you in ways beyond your comprehension. Your job is not to figure out how everything will unfold. Your job is to align with faith, to trust that what is meant for you will find you at the perfect time. Science has shown that when we operate from a place of trust and surrender, we activate different neural pathways in the brain. We shift from the survival state of stress and anxiety to a creative state of openness and possibility. This shift in consciousness is what allows us to experience synchronicities, divine interventions, and effortless manifestations. The more we surrender, the more we make room for God's plan to unfold. And when we align with that plan, life becomes a series of miracles rather than a constant struggle. The human mind is wired for control. From an early age, we are conditioned to believe that security comes from knowing exactly what will happen next. We seek certainty in our relationships, our careers, our finances, and even in the way we approach our spiritual lives. But the truth is, life is unpredictable, and the more we try to control every aspect of it, the more we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of fear, stress, and disappointment. This cycle of control is an illusion, a false sense of security that keeps us from experiencing the fullness of life. When we learn to break this pattern and trust in a higher intelligence, we open ourselves to a reality far greater than anything we could have designed on our own. Fear is the driving force behind our need to control. It whispers to us that if we don't plan every detail, something will go wrong. It convinces us that if we let go, we will lose everything. Fear operates from a place of scarcity, making us believe that there isn't enough time, money, love, or opportunities to go around. It keeps us in a constant state of worry about the future, replaying worst-case scenarios in our minds. This is why so many people feel stuck. They hold on to old patterns, toxic relationships, or unfulfilling jobs, simply because the unknown seems too risky. They would rather cling to something familiar, even if it causes them suffering, than step into the uncertainty of what could be. This is the great paradox of control. It doesn't actually give us security. Instead, it keeps us imprisoned in a reality that no longer serves us. When we operate from a mindset of control, we block the flow of divine timing. Imagine trying to hold on to water with a clenched fist. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips through your fingers. Life works in the same way. The more we try to control outcomes, the more resistance we create. This resistance often shows up as frustration, anxiety, and burnout. We push, force, and manipulate situations only to find ourselves exhausted and further from where we want to be. But when we loosen our grip, when we release the need to control, something incredible happens. We move into a state of allowing. In this state, things begin to unfold with ease. Doors open where we once saw walls. Opportunities appear without struggle. This is the power of surrender, not as a passive act, but as an active trust in a divine plan greater than our own. Breaking the cycle of fear and control requires a shift in perception. It requires us to recognize that we are not in this alone. There is a higher intelligence at work, guiding, shaping, and aligning everything for our highest good. When we trust in this intelligence, we no longer feel the need to force things to happen. Instead, we learn to move with life, to listen to divine guidance, and to take inspired action rather than reactive action. Inspired action comes from a place of faith. It is the gentle nudge, the inner knowing that tells us when to move and when to wait. Reactive action, on the other hand, is fueled by fear. It is the impulse to act out of desperation, to make hasty decisions because we are afraid of what will happen if we don't. The difference between the two is everything. One leads to peace, alignment, and miracles. The other leads to stress, struggle, and misalignment. The challenge is that breaking free from control feels uncomfortable at first. The mind resists it because it has been programmed for certainty. But certainty is an illusion. The only true certainty is that life is always changing, always evolving. When we accept this truth, we begin to see that the unknown is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. The unknown is where possibilities exist. It is where new paths are revealed, where transformation takes place. If we can shift our perspective and see uncertainty as a gift rather than a threat, we can begin to move through life with a sense of trust rather than fear. When we trust, we make room for divine timing. We stop chasing and start attracting. We stop struggling and start receiving. The moment we break free from the illusion of control, we step into a reality where life begins to work for us rather than against us. Fear no longer dictates our choices. We no longer live in survival mode. Instead, we experience a deep sense of peace, knowing that we are exactly where we are meant to be. Rewiring the mind for faith is a process of transforming the way we think, feel, and respond to life's uncertainties. Most people have been conditioned to operate from a place of doubt, fear, and skepticism, believing only in what they can see and control. This way of thinking keeps them trapped in the same repetitive cycles, reacting to circumstances instead of shaping them. But just as the brain can be programmed for stress, anxiety, and limitation, it can also be rewired for faith, trust, and divine alignment. Faith is not just a belief, it is a state of being, a way of thinking and feeling that aligns us with the greater intelligence of the universe. When we learn to rewire our minds for faith, we step into a reality where we no longer wait for things to change before we believe. They change because the brain is an incredible instrument capable of adapting and evolving based on our thoughts and emotions. Neuroscience tells us that every thought we think strengthens neural pathways in the brain. If we constantly think from a place of doubt, those neural pathways become stronger, reinforcing the belief that things won't work out. The more we focus on fear, the more we train our brains to expect problems, to anticipate failure, and to live in a state of survival. This is why so many people struggle with trust. They have spent years conditioning their minds to see obstacles instead of possibilities. But just as the brain adapts to negative thinking, it can be reprogrammed for faith. This requires conscious effort, repetition, and a willingness to let go of limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. One of the most powerful ways to rewire the mind for faith is through meditation and prayer. Meditation is not just about relaxation. It is about shifting into a higher state of awareness where we can detach from the constant noise of the mind and access deeper wisdom. When we meditate, we quiet the analytical mind, the part of us that always seeks to predict and control, and we enter a space where we can receive divine guidance. Prayer, on the other hand, is an intentional practice of communicating with this greater intelligence, affirming our trust, and reinforcing the belief that we are supported. Both meditation and prayer activate the brain's frontal lobe, the center responsible for focus, clarity, and higher consciousness. Over time, this practice rewires the brain to default to trust instead of doubt, to expect miracles instead of obstacles. Gratitude is another essential tool in rewiring the mind for faith. Gratitude is the emotional signature of trust. When we are grateful, we signal to our brains that we already have what we need, even before it appears in our external reality. This is where true transformation happens. Most people wait for their circumstances to change before they feel gratitude, but this is backward thinking. When we cultivate gratitude in advance, we shift our energy and align ourselves with divine timing. This is not just a feel-good practice. It is rooted in science. Studies have shown that gratitude activates the brain's reward centers, releasing dopamine and serotonin, the neurotransmitters responsible for happiness and motivation. The more we practice gratitude, the more we train our brains to operate from a state of faith rather than fear. Visualization is another technique that plays a significant role in rewiring the mind. When we vividly imagine a desired outcome, the brain does not distinguish between the imagined and the real. It responds as if the experience is already happening. This is why athletes use mental rehearsal to enhance performance and why successful people visualize their goals before they achieve them. By repeatedly focusing on positive outcomes and envisioning our lives unfolding in divine order, we reinforce the neural pathways of trust. Instead of seeing challenges as roadblocks, we start seeing them as stepping stones. Instead of feeling lost in uncertainty, we begin to feel excited about the possibilities ahead. The process of rewiring the mind for faith also involves releasing subconscious fears and limiting beliefs. Many of the doubts and insecurities we carry were programmed into us from childhood, shaped by past experiences, cultural conditioning, and the opinions of others. These deeply ingrained patterns operate beneath the surface, influencing our decisions and reactions without us even realizing it. To rewire the mind, we must bring awareness to these beliefs and consciously replace them with new, empowering thoughts. This requires repetition, patience, and consistency. The brain does not change overnight, but with daily practice, it begins to form new neural connections that align with faith and divine trust. As we continue this process, something profound begins to happen. The external world starts to reflect the internal changes we have made. The more we strengthen our faith, the more we experience synchronicities, unexpected blessings, and moments of divine alignment. This is not coincidence. It is the natural outcome of shifting our energy and rewiring our minds to operate on a higher frequency. Instead of reacting to life with fear and doubt, we begin to move through life with confidence and trust. Instead of seeing obstacles as proof that things aren't working, we see them as temporary challenges designed to guide us towards something greater. Living in elevated emotion is one of the most powerful ways to align with divine intelligence and trust God's plan. Most people faith is no longer just a simply reactions to external circumstances. It becomes the foundation of our reality. They think that when things go well, they will feel happy, and when things go wrong, they will feel stressed or anxious. But this way of thinking keeps them stuck in a cycle of waiting for life to change before they allow themselves to experience joy, peace, or gratitude. The truth is, our emotions are not just reactions to life. They are also creative forces that shape our reality. When we choose to live in elevated emotional states, such as gratitude, love, joy, and peace, we align ourselves with the energy of divine intelligence and become magnets for the very experiences we desire. Science has proven that our thoughts and emotions directly influence our physiology, brain chemistry, and even the electromagnetic field around us. When we are stuck in stress, fear, or frustration, the body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which keep us in a survival state. In this state, the brain becomes hyper-focused on problems, limiting our ability to see solutions or opportunities. Over time, chronic stress rewires the brain to expect negative outcomes, reinforcing a cycle of doubt, anxiety, and limitation. However, when we shift into elevated emotional states, we activate a completely different set of biological responses. The brain releases feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, enhancing creativity, intuition, and overall well-being. The heart begins to beat in a more coherent and rhythmic pattern, improving health, immune function, and emotional stability. Living in elevated emotion is not just about feeling good. It is about shifting into a state of being that aligns us with divine flow. Gratitude is one of the most powerful elevated emotions because it signals to the brain and body that we already have what we desire. When we feel grateful for something before it has even manifested, we send a powerful message to our subconscious mind and the quantum field that the experience is already real. This is how faith works. It requires us to embody the feelings of the outcome before we see it in our physical reality. Most people wait for external proof before they believe, but those who understand the power of elevated emotion create their reality by believing first. When we cultivate gratitude in advance, we bypass the limitations of the analytical mind and step into a state of deep trust. This is why prayer, meditation, and affirmations are so effective. They train the mind to expect positive outcomes rather than fear negative ones. Love is another elevated emotion that transforms the way we experience life. Love is not just a feeling we reserve for relationships. It is a frequency, an energy that connects us to the divine. When we live in a state of love, we radiate an energy that attracts more love into our lives, whether in the form of people, opportunities, or unexpected blessings. Love expands our perception, allowing us to see the beauty in every moment, even in challenges. It dissolves fear, eliminates doubt, and reminds us that we are never alone. When we approach life from a place of love, we naturally trust the process because love and fear cannot coexist. If we are truly in love with life, we cannot be afraid of what's coming next. Joy is another essential elevated emotion because it places us in a state of openness and receptivity. When we experience joy, we become like children, curious, excited, and full of wonder. Joy tells the mind and body that life is unfolding perfectly, even if we cannot see the full picture yet. Many people mistakenly believe that they need a reason to feel joy, but true joy comes from within. It is a choice, an internal state that we can cultivate regardless of our external circumstances. When we choose joy, we shift our entire energetic field, making it easier for divine blessings to reach us. Peace is another elevated emotion that plays a crucial role in trusting God's plan. Peace is the absence of resistance. It is the state we enter when we let go of control and surrender to divine timing. When we feel at peace, we stop questioning whether things will work out and simply trust that they already have. Peace creates space for miracles. It allows us to remain centered no matter what is happening around us. It keeps us from reacting impulsively or making fear-based decisions. Many people seek peace in external conditions, believing they will feel peaceful once their problems are solved. But true peace is an inner state that we can cultivate regardless of our circumstances. When we embody peace, we send a signal to the universe that we are ready to receive, that we are in alignment with divine flow. The key to living in elevated emotion is consistency. It is not enough to feel gratitude, love, joy, or peace once in a while. These emotions must become our default state of being. This requires practice, intention, and awareness. The brain has been wired for survival for so long that it naturally gravitates towards stress and fear. But just as we can train our bodies through exercise, we can train our minds to live in elevated emotions. Every time we consciously choose gratitude over worry, love over fear, joy over frustration, or peace over doubt, we strengthen the neural pathways that support these states. Over time, these elevated emotions become second nature, allowing us to move through life with ease and trust. As we continue to embody elevated emotions, something miraculous happens. Our external world begins to reflect our internal state. People, opportunities, and experiences that align with our newfound energy begin to appear. We stop chasing and start attracting. We no longer react to life with fear and resistance, but respond with grace and faith. Living in elevated emotion is not just about feeling good in the moment. It is about becoming a vibrational match to the divine intelligence that is always guiding us. When we live in these high-frequency states, we naturally align with God's plan, allowing life to unfold in ways beyond what we could have ever imagined.